So I'm still shaking as I type this. What happened today at Kroger has me seeing red, and I need to get this off my chest before I explode. Some background. I've always been the different one in my family. While my parents, my older brother Dwayne, 34, and my sister Rachel, 29, are all about keeping up appearances and showing off their success. I've always been more practical with money. They drive luxury cars they can barely afford, live in houses with mortgages that keep them up at night, and spend money like it's water. Meanwhile, I live in a modest apartment, drive a paid-off Honda, and yeah, I shop the clearance section. Sue me. What they don't know is that I've actually been incredibly successful with my investments and side businesses. I just don't flaunt it. I'm sitting on a pretty substantial nest egg that would make their eyes pop out, but I've never seen the point in flashy spending. I actually retired from the corporate grind last year and now manage my investments full-time, but they think I'm between jobs or whatever. Anyway, I was at Kroger this morning doing my usual shopping. I always check the clearance section first. It's just smart shopping. I was grabbing some discounted chicken and bread when someone grabbed my shoulder from behind. I turned around and there's my brother Dwayne with this disgusted look on his face. "Jesus Christ, you're 31 and still buying clearance meat?" he said loud enough for people to hear. I was so shocked to see him there that I couldn't even respond at first. He literally started laughing and took out his phone. Before I could process what was happening, he was calling our sister. "Come look. He's fighting a homeless guy for clearance bread." I told him to knock it off, that I was just being smart with my money. He kept laughing and looking around like he wanted other shoppers to join in. I realized Rachel must have been somewhere in the store too. Sure enough, Rachel appears from the next aisle over in like 30 seconds, pushing her cart with her two kids. She takes one look at my cart and immediately starts FaceTiming our mom. "Look at your son, shopping like a homeless person." The kids were staring at me like I was some kind of zoo exhibit. I tried to walk away, but Dwayne blocked my cart. Meanwhile, Mom is screaming through the phone that I've lost all self-respect and what would people think if they knew her son was bargain shopping like that. Other shoppers were staring now. Some looked uncomfortable, others were clearly enjoying the show. This one older lady was giving me a sympathetic look, but nobody stepped in. Dwayne, ever the showman, actually started announcing to the whole aisle, "This is what failure looks like. My brother, the Harvard grad." Yes, I went to Harvard on scholarship, which they've always been weird about because they think I should have gone somewhere they could afford to pay for. Rachel then decided to use this as a teachable moment for her kids. "See, Uncle Seth? This is what happens when you give up on life." My 7-year-old niece looked confused and my 9-year-old nephew just looked embarrassed. Mom was still on FaceTime sobbing about where she went wrong with me. By this point, I was just standing there, unable to believe this was actually happening. "The neighbors are asking if you're on drugs," she wailed, like that was somehow relevant. Then Dwayne did something that made me snap inside. He pulled out his wallet, grabbed some cash, and threw it at me. The bills actually hit my chest and fell to the floor. "Take it. Stop embarrassing our family," Rachel added. "You smell like poverty," which doesn't even make sense because I had literally just showered and was wearing normal, clean clothes. The final straw was when Rachel turned her phone so the speaker was closer to me, and Mom shouted, "The neighbors are asking if you're on drugs." That's when something in me just broke, but not in the way they expected. Instead of yelling or making a scene, I felt this cold clarity wash over me. I just left my cart there, smiled at them, and walked out. They looked confused as hell, probably expected me to either break down or fight back, but I was done. Done letting them treat me like this. Done hiding my success to spare their feelings. Done being the family punching bag. Here's what they don't know. I've been anonymously helping my parents with their mortgage for the past 3 years. They think it's an adjustment from the bank. Dwayne's business loan that saved his failing gym? I'm the guarantor, and it's coming due for renewal next month. Rachel's kids' private school? I've been covering half the tuition as a scholarship the school awarded them. They have no idea how dependent they are on the brother they just humiliated in public. The reason they've always treated me like this goes back to when we were kids. I was the smart one, who got scholarships while they struggled academically. Instead of being proud, they resented me. My parents actually told me once that my success made the others feel bad about themselves. So I learned to downplay everything, to hide my achievements so they wouldn't feel threatened. But that ends today. I'm done diminishing myself to protect their fragile egos. My plan is simple. 1. Stop all financial support immediately. 2. Let them feel the pressure for a few days. 3. Post my bank statement showing my actual net worth, $2.6 million, to our family group, chat 4. Watch them lose their minds when they realize the failure they've been mocking is actually the most financially secure person in the family. Maybe it's petty, but after today, I don't care. They pushed me too far, and now they're about to learn that the brother they've been treating like garbage is actually the one keeping their expensive lifestyles afloat. I'll update when the shit hits the fan. Honestly can't wait to see their faces when they realize just how badly they fucked up. Update 1. Thanks for the support and advice. Some of you suggested I just cut contact and move on, but that's not going to happen. Not yet anyway. They crossed a line, and now they're going to learn there are consequences. It's been 3 days since the Kroger incident, and I've been busy. Like I said before, I've been secretly supporting my family financially for years, while they mock me for being cheap. Well, that support officially ended yesterday. My first move was calling my financial advisor to get the paperwork ready. I needed to make sure I could legally and cleanly remove myself as guarantor from my brother's business loan. Turns out, there's a clause that lets me give 30 days notice before renewal, which is perfect timing since the loan renews next month. My advisor seemed confused about why I'd want to do this since it's been a stable arrangement for 2 years. But I just said priorities change. While that was processing, I logged into the portal for my sister's kids' private school. This was actually the easiest part. Since I set up the scholarship through a small foundation I created for tax purposes, I just had to send an email stating that funding priorities had changed and the scholarship wouldn't be renewed for the next semester. I made sure to time this right. Tuition for next semester is due in 2 weeks. Rachel always waits until the last minute to pay bills, so she hasn't even seen the notice yet. The trickiest part was my parents' mortgage. I've been transferring money each month to an account that automatically pays a portion of their mortgage, labeled as a rate adjustment program. I called the bank and explained I needed to end this arrangement. The customer service rep asked if I wanted to inform the primary account holders, my parents, and I said no. The program was ending and they'd receive standard notification. I felt a little weird doing this, but then remembered my mom literally asked if I was on drugs in the middle of Kroger. So yeah, not feeling too guilty. While I was handling the financial stuff, I got a text from my cousin Tyler asking if I was okay. Apparently, Dwayne and Rachel have been telling the whole family about poor Seth's breakdown at the grocery store and how concerned they are about my mental health. Tyler said they made it sound like I'd gone completely nuts over nothing. That pissed me off even more. So they humiliate me in public, then tell everyone I'm the one with issues? Classic. I didn't tell Tyler the truth yet, just said I was fine and would explain later. I want my family to feel the financial pressure before I drop the wealth bomb. Yesterday afternoon, I got my first call from Dwayne. He acted like nothing happened at Kroger, just called to check in, and then smoothly transitioned to asking if I remembered the name of his bank contact for the business loan since he misplaced the info. I played dumb and said I couldn't remember, just that some guy had helped us set it up. He sounded annoyed but tried to hide it. Asked if I could look through my emails for the contact info. I said my old emails auto-delete after 6 months. Complete lie, lol. But I'd try to remember. This morning things started getting interesting. I got a call from my mom at like 7 a.m. She was freaking out about a letter they received from the mortgage company saying their monthly payment was increasing by $800 effective next month. She was like, "Did you get something similar on your apartment?" I said, "Nope. My rent is fixed for another year." She started ranting about greedy banks and the economy. I almost felt bad, but then remembered her screaming about me embarrassing the family and asking if I was on drugs. The best part came around noon. Rachel called, and she sounded stressed AF. She started by saying she was worried about me after the incident and wanted to check if I was okay. Before I could even answer, she switched to asking if I could watch her kids this weekend because she and her husband need to deal with some school stuff. I'm pretty sure that school stuff is figuring out how to pay tuition now that the mysterious scholarship has disappeared. I told her I was busy this weekend. She pushed, saying it was really important. I held firm. She got snippy and said something about how I have all the free time in the world since I'm between jobs. Her air quotes were practically audible through the phone. I just said sorry, already have plans, and hung up. What's wild is that none of them have actually apologized for what happened at Kroger. They're acting like it either didn't happen or wasn't a big deal. That just confirms I'm doing the right thing. This afternoon I did some digging into Dwayne's business finances. Since I'm still technically the guarantor until the paperwork goes through, I have access to some of the business accounts. What I found was eye-opening. The gym is barely breaking even. He's been late on several vendor payments, and membership has dropped like 30% in the last quarter. No wonder he's freaking out about the loan renewal. As for my parents, I knew they were struggling, but I didn't realize how bad it was. They've been taking out home equity loans to maintain their lifestyle and pay for stuff like their country club membership and mom's weekly spa visits. Without my mortgage adjustment, they're going to be in serious trouble within 2 months. The plan is working better than I expected. I figured it would take at least a week before they felt the pressure, but it's already happening. None of them suspect I'm behind it all. They're just panicking about sudden financial problems while still looking down on their broke son. Tomorrow is when shit really hits the fan. I've scheduled an automatic post to our family WhatsApp group for 6 a.m. A screenshot of my bank statement showing my $2.6 million balance with a simple message. Retired at 30 while you're still kissing your boss's ass. Who's pathetic now? I can already imagine their reactions. Dwayne will be furious because his ego can't handle me being more successful. Rachel will immediately try to backpedal and act like she's always supported me. And my parents will be torn between pride because they can brag to their friends and shame for how they've treated me. Part of me wonders if this is too harsh, but then I remember standing in Kroger with cash literally thrown at me while my family mocked me in front of strangers. They've been treating me like this for years. The grocery store was just the final straw. I'll update tomorrow after the bank statement drops. My phone will probably explode, but I'm ready. They wanted to humiliate me. Well, now they get to see what real financial insecurity feels like. Update 2. So, remember how I scheduled that bank statement to drop in our family WhatsApp at 6 a.m.? Well, it's been about 12 hours since then, and holy shit has it been a day. I woke up around 5:45 a.m., already too anxious to sleep. I made coffee and just sat there staring at my phone, watching the minutes tick by. At exactly 6 o'clock, the message sent automatically. A screenshot of my bank statement showing $2,623,847.91 with the caption, "Retired at 30 while you're still kissing your boss's ass. Who's pathetic now?" For about 5 minutes, there was total silence. No read receipts, no typing indicators, nothing. I started wondering if maybe the message failed to send or something. Then my phone exploded. First was Dwayne. "What the actual fuck is this?" Then Rachel. "Is this some kind of joke?" Mom. "Seth, what is going on?" Dad didn't text but called immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Then they all started calling, one after another. I muted my phone and just sat there smirking. After years of their bullshit, watching them panic felt pretty damn good. Around 7:30, Rachel sent a long paragraph about how she was just concerned about my spending habits and how she never meant to hurt me. "Sure, sis, that's why you told your kids I was a failure and said I smelled like poverty." Dwayne took a different approach. He sent a voice message that was basically 30 seconds of him trying to sound casual while asking if we could grab lunch today to catch up. The desperation in his voice was so obvious it was almost sad. Almost. My parents sent a joint text saying they were confused and worried, and could I please call them to explain what was going on? No apology, of course, just confusion about why their struggling son suddenly has millions. I didn't respond to any of them. Let them stew for a bit. Around 9 a.m., my cousin Tyler texted, "Dude, WTF is happening? Your mom just called my mom crying about how you're secretly rich and cutting them off." I explained the whole situation, including the Kroger incident, and how they've been treating me for years. Tyler was actually cool about it. Said he always thought my family was weirdly hard on me and that he didn't blame me for standing up for myself. By noon, the tone of the messages had shifted. Dwayne sent, "Look, we need to talk about the loan situation. The bank called. I know you're behind this." Rachel sent a screenshot of an email from her kid's school about the scholarship being discontinued, asking if I knew anything about it. I still didn't respond. My phone rang around 2 p.m. It was my dad's sister, Aunt Carol. I actually like her, so I picked up. She asked what was going on because my mom had called her hysterical. I gave her the condensed version. She sighed and said she wasn't surprised. Apparently my parents have been living beyond their means for years, and she's been telling them to cut back. She also mentioned that they've been complaining about me to anyone who would listen for as long as she can remember, always comparing me unfavorably to Dwayne, the successful businessman, and Rachel, the perfect mom. That call made me even more pissed. So they've been trashing me to the extended family while I've been literally paying their mortgage? Fuck that. Around 5 p.m., I finally posted in the family chat, "I'm done being the family punching bag while bankrolling your lifestyles. The loan guarantee, the scholarship, the mortgage adjustment, that was all me, and now it's gone. Maybe think about that next time you want to humiliate someone for being cheap." Then I muted the chat again and ordered some Thai food. I was halfway through my pad Thai when the doorbell rang. It was 7:30 p.m. and I wasn't expecting anyone. I checked my doorbell camera through the app. It was Dwayne, looking agitated. I decided not to answer. He rang again, then started pounding on the door. I could hear him shouting that he knew I was in there and we needed to talk about the loan. After about 5 minutes, he left. An hour later, Rachel showed up with her husband. Same deal, ringing, knocking, calling my name. I stayed quiet. Rachel's husband looked uncomfortable, like he'd been dragged there against his will. They eventually left too. The real surprise came at 11 p.m. I was about to go to bed when my doorbell camera alert went off again. This time it was my parents and Dwayne and Rachel. The whole damn family, standing on my doorstep in the dark like some kind of intervention squad. Mom was crying, saying the neighbors were laughing at them now that everyone knew they were having financial problems. Dad kept saying they just wanted to explain. Dwayne was alternating between pleading and getting angry, saying he'd do anything to work this out. Rachel kept repeating that they didn't know. They're sorry, they're so fucking sorry. I watched it all through the camera, not making a sound. The pounding and pleading continued for almost an hour. At one point, Dwayne actually sat down on my doorstep with his head in his hands. Mom kept dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Dad paced back and forth. Rachel tried calling me probably 20 times. Eventually, a neighbor came out and told them to keep it down. It was after midnight. They looked embarrassed and finally left. As soon as their cars pulled away, I got a group text from Dad. "We need to talk about this as a family. Come to our house tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please, Seth." I thought about it for a while, then replied, "My apartment, 10 a.m. Come alone. No spouses, no kids. If anyone raises their voice or makes excuses, I'm done permanently." Dad replied almost instantly, "We'll be there." So that's where things stand. In about 8 hours, I'm going to face my family for the first time since I revealed everything. I'm not backing down. They need to understand exactly what they've done and what it's going to cost them. I've already decided I'm not just giving them the money back. If they want any financial help from me ever again, there will be conditions. Real, binding, legal conditions. I've actually talked to my lawyer about drawing up agreements. Everything in writing, nothing under the table anymore. Part of me feels bad about how desperate they seem tonight. But then I remember standing in Kroger while Dwayne threw cash at me and Mom screamed about me being on drugs. I remember all the years of snide comments about my apartment, my car, my clothes. I remember Rachel using me as a negative example for her kids. They made their bed. Now they get to lie in it. I'll update tomorrow after the meeting. Based on tonight's doorstep drama, I'm expecting tears, anger, bargaining, and probably some guilt tripping. But I'm ready. For once in my life, I have the upper hand with my family, and I'm not afraid to use it. Final update. So, the meeting with my family happened this morning, and wow. Just wow. I'm still processing everything, but wanted to give you all the update while it's fresh. I woke up at like 6 a.m., too wired to sleep. Spent the next few hours cleaning my apartment, not that it needed it, and rehearsing what I wanted to say. I also had all the financial documents ready. Bank statements, records of transfers, everything that proved I'd been supporting them for years without their knowledge. At exactly 9:58, my doorbell rang. They were actually on time for once. I took a deep breath and opened the door. They all looked like shit, TBH. Mom's eyes were puffy. Dad looked like he hadn't slept. Dwayne kept checking his phone nervously. And Rachel was doing that thing where she tries to look composed but keeps fidgeting with her hair. No one said anything at first. I just stepped aside and let them in. Mom tried to hug me, but I moved away and pointed them to the living room. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Dad broke the silence first by saying they wanted to apologize for what happened at Kroger. Before he could continue, I held up my hand and told them I had something to say first. I laid out all the documents on my coffee table, proof of the mortgage adjustment, the business loan guarantee, the private school scholarship. Their faces as they looked through everything. I wish I had a picture. Mom started crying again, saying she had no idea and why didn't I tell them? I laughed, not like a happy laugh, but that kind of bitter laugh when something is so ridiculous you can't even be mad anymore. I asked why I would tell them when all they've ever done is mock me for being careful with money. Dwayne got defensive, saying they were just worried about me living below my means and thought I was depressed or something. That's when I lost it a little. I pointed out that there's a difference between being concerned and publicly humiliating someone. I reminded him that he literally threw money at me in the middle of a grocery store and announced to everyone that I was a failure. Rachel tried to jump in with some BS about how they just want me to be happy and enjoy my success. I asked her if humiliating me in front of her kids and telling them I'm what happens when you give up on life was her way of wanting me to be happy. She actually had the nerve to say I was taking it too personally, and they were just joking. That's when I told them to get out. They seemed shocked, like they expected me to just accept their half-assed excuses. Dad asked me to calm down, said they came here to work things out as a family. I told them there was nothing to work out unless they were ready to acknowledge what they'd actually done. Not just at Kroger, but for years. The constant put-downs, the snide comments about my apartment and car, The way they've talked about me to other family members. There was this awkward silence. And then Mom actually said something that surprised me. She admitted that they've always been jealous of me, that my success came too easily while they had to struggle. She said watching me excel at everything from school to finances made them feel like failures. So they tried to find ways to feel superior. Mocking my frugality was their way of having something to hold over me. Dwayne nodded and said it bothered him that I could walk away from the corporate world at 30 while he's been killing himself trying to make his business work. Rachel said she resented how I seemed to have everything figured out while she felt like she was constantly struggling to keep up appearances. I wasn't expecting that level of honesty, but it didn't excuse their behavior. I told them understanding why they did it doesn't make it okay. That's when we got to the real reason they came. The money. Dwayne asked straight up if I was going to let his business fail. Rachel wanted to know if her kids would have to change schools. Dad asked about the mortgage. I had 3 folders ready, one for each of them. Inside each folder was a legal agreement my lawyer had prepared. I told them I wasn't just cutting them off completely, but things were going to be different from now on. For Dwayne, I'd continue as guarantor on his loan, but he had to take business management classes and meet with a financial advisor monthly. The business accounts would be transparent to me, and major decisions would require consultation. Also, he had to make a formal apology to me in front of the extended family at the next gathering. For Rachel, I'd continue paying half the tuition, but only if she enrolled in financial literacy classes herself and set up college funds for the kids. She also had to explain to her children that what she said about me at the store was wrong, and that living frugally is actually smart, not something to mock. For my parents, I'd help with the mortgage, but they had to downsize within a year to something they could actually afford. No more country club, no more spa days until they were living within their means. And they had to stop telling family members I was struggling or having problems. Dwayne looked through his agreement and started arguing about the business management classes, saying he already knows how to run a business. I just laughed and pointed out his gym was hemorrhaging money before the pandemic and has been on life support since. He shut up pretty quick. Rachel tried the emotional approach, saying her kids shouldn't suffer because of adult problems. I reminded her that she had no problem using me as a negative example for those same kids. The tuition help was a privilege, not a right, and she could either accept my terms or figure out another solution. My parents were the most resistant. Mom actually said it would be humiliating to downsize at their age when all their friends have nice houses. I asked if it was more humiliating than having your son bail you out because you're living beyond your means. Dad looked uncomfortable but didn't disagree with me. After about an hour of back and forth, with occasional shouting and one point where Dwayne almost walked out, they all reluctantly agreed to my terms. I had them sign the agreements right there. Rachel tried to say she needed her husband to look them over first, but I reminded her this wasn't a negotiation. These were my conditions for continued support. As they were leaving, Mom asked if things would ever go back to normal between us. I told her normal wasn't working for me. From now on, we'd have a relationship based on mutual respect or we wouldn't have one at all. The most surprising part came after they left. About an hour later, I got a text from Dwayne asking if we could get coffee sometime, just the two of us. He said there were things he wanted to talk about without the rest of the family around. I'm still deciding if I want to do that. Then my cousin Tyler called to say Dwayne had reached out to him, asking for advice on how to make things right with me. Apparently, Dwayne admitted to Tyler that they'd all been treating me like crap for years because of their own insecurities. Tyler seemed impressed that Dwayne was actually owning up to it. It's been a few hours now, and I'm still processing everything. Part of me feels a little guilty about being so harsh with them. But then I remember all those years of comments and put-downs, culminating in that humiliating scene at Kroger, and I know I did the right thing. This isn't about the money, it's about respect. For the first time in my adult life, my family is seeing me clearly, not as the little brother they can mock to feel better about themselves, but as someone who deserves basic respect. I don't know what happens next. Maybe some of the relationships can be salvaged over time. Maybe not. But I do know I'm not going back to being their punching bag while secretly funding their lifestyles. Those days are over. One thing's for sure. I'm still going to shop the clearance section at Kroger. Not because I need to, but because it's the smart thing to do. And I'm not ashamed of being smart with my money. Oh, and to the people who asked in the comments, yes, I actually did retire at 30. 5 years of aggressive saving and investing, plus a couple of lucky breaks with startups I advised. It can be done if you're willing to live below your means and ignore people who judge you for it, even if those people are your family. Update in a few months if anything significant changes. Thanks for all the support and advice, Reddit. It really helped knowing I wasn't overreacting.